Hey, we're back again.
I know.
It's very exciting.
Speaking about identity.
Yeah. Identity is really important, isn't it? Because everybody who we come across in life and all our clients and all the people we come in contact with, a lot of people do have an issue with identity, don't they?
Totally.
And I think it's because we all wear so many different hats. So we can wear a hat as a mother, a sister, a friend, a brother, a father,
An employee.
Absolutely, or an entrepreneur, whatever it is, we wear these hats. And then things happen in our life. For instance, somebody loses their job, so they get made redundant, and say they were something like a bank manager. I've never met a bank manager, by the way, but say they're a bank manager and that's all they've done all their life, and then they're in their late 50s and they lose their job and they flail and they don't have any groundings because they've been that for their entire life and they don't know who they are. Or there's another example, say you're a mother, you're bringing up your kids, you're a homemaker, you do this lovely job, your children all fly the nest and you're an empty nester, and these people are going mad. And that's why these people are having kind of like midlife crisis, aren't they? And they think things are bad rather than good. There's all these different labels to put on things, but I think it's because they've put their identity somewhere else. They've given the power to another place, and so many people are looking out for their identity rather than looking within.
And I think also it's linked with purpose, isn't it? So many people want to find their purpose in life or say that they're not fulfilled. And I think you and I would agree that on the journey you can go on to find yourself, you can also find your purpose, because identity and purpose is linked together.
Yep.
So that when we're completely fulfilled in our destiny, we're walking out our true identity through what we do. So our passion in what we do is actually giving, but it's giving of ourselves when we know ourselves. But how do we get to know ourselves?
Yeah, and what you just said, then people might misconstrue that and think again it says as a job, finding your purpose as a job. But that's not what that means, does it?
No.
It just means finding out what you enjoy doing, what is important to you, where your values lie, and then living your life in an authentic way in line with all of those things.
Absolutely. So when we become truly ourselves and we radiate ourselves and we're passionate about who we are, we can then be in the world, I think.
And that's our identity, isn't it?
But how do we find that? How do we find our identity? And I totally agree with what you say, is that many, I don't want to say people because I want to say us, me included.
Yeah.
Many of us are lost in finding ourselves. How do we find ourselves? And I think when it comes to being beyond teen years, we have identified ourselves with what people have said about us or spoken into our lives. So we become the values of our parents, we become the values of our education, we become the expectations others have put on us. You can't and you won't, and all the negative talk.
Absolutely.
So how do we come out of the negative talk into the positive talk? And I think that's what we want to address in this session, isn't it?
Absolutely. Because, well, as you said then, it's like, and you carry these things with you for life, don't you? You think you're not very good at something because somebody might have said that you're not very good at it, but then you don't even then explore to find out if you actually can do it, if you are good at it, or vice versa. Somebody tells you you're amazing at something, so you go and pursue that, and you think that's your identity. Actually, that doesn't give you fulfillment. It doesn't make you happy. It's often the littler things in life that are going to be more fulfilling, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting. Before this session, I thought I'd just do a little exercise and write down the 5 things that I'm most passionate about, and then I'll write down 5 things that people spoke over my life at school, and interestingly they tied in with each other. So now I love public speaking, and yet at school one of the things that was always said about me is that she's really shy. So I took on board, I'm shy, I've got nothing to say, I'm not interesting, I can't speak. And actually the very thing I want to do is be able to have my voice. So it was my voice that was shut down. And so often if you look back at the things that people are critical about in your life, it's often to prevent you from the very thing you're good at. It's the opposite. So we've got to do that self-talk, turn around the negative talk into self-talk. I can, and be positive when the negatives come
And
in.
also remember, we are not who we were yesterday. We are who we are here and now. So we carry all of this baggage with us from, as you say, from our parents, from the education system, and we're being told things in life, even like images that come up on our computer all the time are telling us one thing or another. There's lots of subliminal messages, but it's actually realising who you are here and now. And then I think your values pretty much stay your values, don't they? They don't really alter that much if you are living true to your values. So as you say, I think it's finding out who you are. So, as you said, do things like write down what you're actually really passionate about. Write down what it is you enjoy, who you enjoy being around, and why you enjoy being around them, because there's messages in all of that, isn't there? Because if you really love being with somebody, they often have the same values as you. If you don't really like being around somebody, their values are just often not in line with yours.
So I'm going to ask you a question.
Oh God, here we go.
Tell me 5 things that you do better than anything else about yourself.
Okay. I am very, very good at shutting down negative voice in my head now, because I practice daily. Then I talk to myself in a very kind way. And that's not all the time. I'm not perfect at it, because there's no such thing as perfect, but I'm better at that than other things. I am amazing at exercising. I am a really good listener. I am, this is quite a struggle now, because now I've got another 2 to find. I think I'm really good at creating a nice home. Everybody can have a house, but not everybody has a home. So I think I'm really good at that, and I'm really, all my children's friends want to come round, and it's a good safe place, and we have fun. So I think I'm really good at that. And
one more.
I'm really quite good at problem solving. I don't take it like, when a crisis or when something happens, I don't fall apart. I don't go, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? I just kind of go, okay, this is the situation, what are we going to do now? And I'm quite good in various situations.
So that's really interesting. So as an overseer then, I would say that, your homemaking is your creativity. You love being creative. You connect with people really well. You're quite strategic. So if you look at the things that, and listeners, if you were to write 5 things down for yourselves and then oversee it, you would see that you're a people person, you love relationships, or you love creating an environment that's homely, or it's about hospitality. Is you're creating a homely environment about having people in, and it's about connecting with people? Or is it just about being in beauty? Do you love nature as well? So actually, if you write those things down, then you can kind of oversee it as well, and say, actually, this is who I am. And innately, I would say, from having worked with clients for years, innately, all of you are absolutely beautiful in very different ways.
Totally.
So you can wake up in the morning and say, gosh, I am absolutely beautiful, and I am so loved. I love myself, and I am so lovable, no matter what anybody else says. And even if you've had a really bad day, and I've got clients at the moment that are in court and hearing lots of negativity, and they've got lawyers, and they've got ex-partners, or they've got expert witnesses speaking negativity into their life. And I say to them, but that's not the truth of who you are. You know your truth. You know your beauty, and you know the power that you hold to be beautiful. And you walk into that situation and you just say, I don't mind what anybody else is going to say about me, because I know who I am. And that's the strength, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know who you are. But sometimes it's helpful to write it down on a piece of paper.
Oh yeah, I mean, writing is one of the best things. It's so good for you.
Or write it all over the mirror.
Yeah, write it wherever you want, but picking up that pen or that something to write with is, like, people, it's not the same thing as typing, is it? It's really good to write stuff down. It's really therapeutic. It gets it all out. So helpful. Yeah. Values
is another one you could write down.
Absolutely. What are your values? What is it that, what's really, really important to you? What are your values, Sue?
Well, it's interesting, because I was thinking about this earlier again, and I was thinking, what are my values that I hold true to myself? And then separately I wrote, what were the values that were put on me as a child? And so I grew up as a very strict Catholic, so religion was a value that put on me. And part of religion I love, the spirituality sense of it, the beauty, the reverence, the awe, the peace, the tranquility, the truth. But the religious rules and the legalism I hate. So the values that were put on me was that you have to follow set rules in life. And that's
You're
just not
You're not a rule
true
follower,
for
are you?
me, because I actually realised outside of those values that I would have to conform to break free, I'm actually a free spirit, and I have to be in the moment, and I have to say, actually, that resonates with me or doesn't resonate with me outside the rules. And I'm not a conformist at all. I mean, put me in a situation where I'm told to do something, I'll actually rebel, because that's my automatic response though, is, I'm told to do something and I actually want to be really naughty and rebel, because I can't do it.
She does naughty really well.
And then I might come back and agree with what the person's saying, but my automatic reaction is just, no, I'm not going to do what I'm told to do. So free spirit. So I did write them down earlier. I thought that I was a visionary, so I love seeing ahead, I love seeing possibilities. passion, I'm passionate about whatever I do. So I think that comes down to the rebellion. If I'm not passionate about what I want to do, I won't do it. So I want to put 100% in it, 200% into it. But if it's not something that's coming from me in my heart, I actually can't do it. I struggle with it.
Yep.
But then I can come round to it. Courage, I thought I've got incredible courage, actually, and tenacity goes with that as well. So, in a situation that might be fearful, again, I can speak positively into it and say, well, actually, I'm fearful about this situation, or I don't like change, or whatever it is, but actually, in my previous years, I have overcome something quite difficult, so therefore I can do this. So, but it's positivity and having courage. And the other thing I wrote down was being intuitive. Just sensing, we've talked about this a lot, haven't we? Picking up on your intuition, picking up on what's in your heart and just going with it. And I'm such a believer now that you follow your heart and you listen to it. And I keep saying to my children, you've just told me you're sensing this, well, go with it.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
see where it goes. Don't stop it, don't block it, don't shut it down. Just go with it and see where it opens up to, because that's innate for you. It might not be what's welcome in a general situation with a group, but certainly it's right for you, so go with it.
Yeah. I would agree with them values with you, because I know you quite well. Yeah, you're definitely courageous. You're one of the most courageous people I know.
So for listeners, get a pen and pencil out, pen and pencil, pen and
just get them both
piece
out.
of paper, or a pencil and piece of paper. Write down your values. Write down, and actually do a distinction. Write down the values you think that were put on you. And another value was put on me was that, we had to be educated. We had to go to school and do well. We had to go to university. So all our family kind of went to university because we've just followed the protocol. Was that right for you? Was it right for me? Maybe at the time, I don't know. But anyway, what were the values that were put on you? What are your values now that are separate from it? And can you separate the two? Can you identify the two separate values? Because who you are today is not what's been put on you from other people.
And values can be so much simpler than even what you've just said. Like my values, I always work through is this kind? Is this honest? Am I doing this with integrity? Am I being authentic? And you can't 100% be authentic. You can't go into the post shop and somebody asks you how you are and you tell them that you feel like shit. It's not really that okay. But however, if a friend asks me how I am, I used to cover things up. Whereas now,
you can be real.
Actually, no, I'm actually not having a great day today. Oh yeah, I'm actually freaking awesome. But it's, or your values could be family, or they could be love, or they could be relationships. Values can be so wide, can't they? Google it, look at all those words on the screen and pick out which ones resonate with you the most. There's so many good ways to do it, isn't there?
And we talk about positivity, but that doesn't mean that we're having to pretend everything's fine. As you say, you can have bad days, but when you have good and bad moments, you can speak positivity into the negative moments, can't you? And that's a choice.
Yeah.
So, life is yin and yang, it's the ebb and flow, it's the, the dichotomy of extremes, but within it we can make choices to be positive about it. And we all pick up on negative and positive energy, don't we? And sometimes I used to think that the positive people were born that way and the negative people were born that way. Well, whether it's nature or nurture, I don't know, but we can make a choice in a negative situation or a hard situation when we're feeling very low to actually get out of bed, to put into action what we're going to do that day, to be positive. So it's not undermining the difficult times.
No, absolutely not. There's always going to be difficult times. But if you know who you are and you have your identity, and within that we'll talk about a few more things in a minute, but if you have your identity within those difficult times, the difficult times aren't as hard because you're not fighting against other things, because you know who you are. Whereas if you don't know who you are, you haven't got a flipping clue, and you've been conforming to something that's been put on you, or some kind of employment or some other hold, well then you're not actually in a flow. There's so many people living mindlessly in there. That was a bit Yorkshire, wasn't it? In there.
I thought you're from Liverpool.
I am, I've lived around the world. I'm very cultured, so. But there's so many people living mindlessly, just getting on with their life without thinking about things like this. And I think that's why people are in crisis, because they don't know their identity, they don't have self-love, they're not self-aware. And that's why there's so much anxiety, so much depression, so much war, so much hatred, because people are not looking within and finding themselves.
And it's very easy to try and find our identity in another person,
Absolutely.
in our children, in drugs, in shopping addiction, in what we do, in busyness. But I think a critical tool for me has been to be on my own for a period of time And even, you know, in a relationship, outside a relationship, who are you separate from your relationship? Who are you separate from your children? Who are you separate from your job? And the only way we can do that is actually to create time out of the busyness, to actually say no to the busyness, to stop all the responsibilities, well, some of the responsibilities, and actually take time out to go for a walk, to sit there with a candle in some quiet space, and actually be in the moment, be in you, go for a walk, you know, in the woods or whatever it is, to connect with nature, to connect with the universe, and actually have time just to be in quiet, isn't it, away from
Well, you
everything
can't
else.
find yourself in busyness, can you?
No.
You're never going to find yourself in madness and busyness. There has to be some quiet times and some introspection to find yourself. Did that all make sense?
Yes.
Good!
It did to me, but I know you.
Blah, blah, blah.
But I mean, you find yourself running, playing sport, don't you? You have a lot of time away from, I know you've got 4 children, a busy life, and, you know, partner on the scene, and house and work and everything else, but you do a lot in terms of removing yourself from that.
Absolutely,
and
I have
doing
to.
your own thing.
Yeah.
And so for listeners, what is your thing? Is it knitting? Is it going for a walk? Is it gardening?
You know, most people don't even know what they like and what they want to do. Then these are the questions that you ask yourself within your identity. Who am I? What is it I like to do? Where do I find fulfillment? Where do I find enjoyment? And they are going to be all the kind of questions you're going to ask to find identity. So should we leave our listeners with 3 things?
Well, I was just going to say one more thing, that sometimes we get into codependent relationships and we kind of mould ourselves to the partner that we're with, the husband we're with, the wife that we're with. But outside of that, I think it's really important to say, this is who I am, separate from the person that I'm with. And to find again that inner passion, because sometimes when we're in a struggling relationship, we feel very different with our girlfriends or our mates to the problems in our relationship. And you can be in a place of sort of dichotomy of extremes where you just think, gosh, I feel one person in my relationship, but when I'm with my friends and family, I feel really happy. So then it's to remember, when you're in a struggling relationship, who am I outside of this relationship? Am I generally happy when I'm not with this person? And then it's a test of who you're with as well, isn't it? To maybe not be in a codependent relationship, to find yourself, and maybe relationships that aren't working, to find, you know, a new beginning on your own sometimes. To actually have time to find who you are.
I agree.
3 tips to leave our listeners.
Okay, well, I think the first one is to remind yourself that you are worthy and that you are enough and that you are lovable. And beautiful, absolutely. Beauty comes from within. It doesn't come from anywhere else. So, sorry, just going to move things off screen. So, yeah, definitely remember your worth. And I think we've talked about this in the past, and it's one of the most simplest things you can do. But every morning when you wake up, say, hand on heart, I am worthy. I am enough. I am so very beautiful. And I love you. And it's so simple, and it might seem really weird at first, but it's just a really nice way to talk to yourself, because we're the experts usually at beating ourselves up and being mean, and that is not good. That just has to stop, and that's what we are advocates of doing. We are really trying to help people stop that. So if you can start your day with that little bit of self-talk, I am enough, I am worthy, I am so very beautiful, I love you. And then do that every day. The more you say it, the more you believe it. The more you believe it,
The more you become it.
absolutely. Walk the walk and talk the talk. Go on, number 2.
Number 2, do something really special for yourself each day. So what is it that distracts you each day? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram? Are you watching the TV? For 20 minutes each day, stop that one thing that's distracting you and have time for you. Go for a 20-minute walk, sit in silence on a beanbag with a cup of tea, run a hot bath, have candles, but be in alone time where you can just hear your inner voice and just be peaceful and quiet. Do something really special. Go for a run, go for a walk, go and visit a girlfriend, go and have a coffee.
Go and buy some
but
flowers.
detract from the noise of the world and just be in space, be in moment. And you know, I grew up, as I said, in the Catholic Church. So for me, that was prayer time, but that was also quiet time. Today we call it meditation, mindfulness, whatever you want to call it. But actually have that time to connect with the inner voice and the quiet. And then in there you can see your own beauty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 3.
Live by your values, because when you're not living by your values, it feels icky. And you can call it anything you want. You can call it gut instinct, you can call it other things, whatever, you know, but you know when something isn't quite right. If you're in a situation and you just feel a little bit uneasy or a little bit icky, it's because it's not in line with your values. So try to make every decision in line with your values. Like mine, is this kind? Am I doing it with integrity? Am I being honest? Is this necessary? Am I doing this out of love? I ask myself questions like that. It's like a filter for me, and if I'm not being truly authentic, I try to remove myself from a situation because I only want to be me, because I've learned to love me and it took me a long bloody time, so I ain't going to be anybody else ever again. So once you find yourself, once you know your identity, and you are starting to like yourself and you are starting to realise what you enjoy doing, and you're going to do that for yourself, and then you're going to live by your values.
And to those listeners that are young mums with crazy children and mess and chaos who are just sitting there thinking, I haven't got any time to do that, I'm going to say to you, you are absolutely beautiful. You are so worthy, so loved, and radiate who you are. Just radiate in the chaos and the mess. You know, sometimes when I was in chaos, I had 4 children under 5, as a single parent, had no money, I was in chaos. I used to put a pair of stilettos on, and I used to dress up, put lipstick on, do my hair, and I used to do the hoovering around the house. And I used to be really good about myself, and nobody saw, but I didn't care, but I used to go hoovering. Gave me some pleasure in the day. Whatever gives you pleasure, do it, because you are so beautiful. You've got such amazing purpose ahead of you. So just ride the storm, ride the hard times. There's seasons for all things. And Jo and I have come out of our really tough season. We're in a place of a bit more peace where we can have time to find ourselves. But if you're in that chaos, busy season, seasons change. So you will come out of it, but while you're in it, we will both tell you that you're absolutely beautiful and
you are
amazing.
So worthwhile.
Yeah.
And you are more than enough. So on that lovely note, we're going to leave you to go and find your identity. We wish you luck, and we wish you love, and we wish you peace. Au revoir.
Bye.